Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're jumping into a topic that's, frankly, changing the game for web development: accessibility. We're going to look at how modern frameworks are doing more than just helping. They're actually revolutionizing how we can build inclusive websites right from the very first line of code.
So let me just start by asking you this, and it's a question we should all be asking ourselves constantly. Is the thing you're building really for everyone? Because the whole point of the web is for it to be an open space, no matter who you are or what device you're using.
For a long time, accessibility was seen as this extra chore, a box you had to tick at the end of a project. But that's just not true. It's actually a massive strategic advantage. I'm talking about reaching a bigger audience, getting a nice SEO bump, and honestly, just making a better site for people on their phones. Getting this right from the start saves you from a world of expensive, frustrating fixes later on. It's just smart development.
So, how do we get it right? Well, thankfully, we're not just guessing. There's a global standard called the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG for short. And it's all built on four fundamental ideas, four pillars that hold up everything else. Let's dig into what they are.
First up, perceivable. Pretty straightforward, right? It means people have to be able to actually perceive your content. This is where you get into things like alt text for images, so someone who can't see the image can still get the information, or making sure your text and background colors have enough contrast to be easily read. It's about making sure your content isn't literally invisible to some of your users. Second, we have Operable. Your site has to, work. A user has to be able to navigate and interact with everything. The absolute classic example of this is keyboard navigation. Can someone use your entire website with just the tab and enter keys? If they can't use a mouse, they shouldn't be locked out of your app, period.
The third pillar is understandable. This one is all about making things clear and predictable. Does your navigation make sense? Does it behave the same way on every page? When someone fills out a form and makes a mistake, is the error message actually helpful or is it confusing? The goal here is to make using your site feel effortless and intuitive.
And finally, number 4, robust. This means your code has to be clean and well-structured enough that it can be reliably understood by all sorts of different browsers, and, this is the big one, assistive technologies like screen readers. Basically, you're building something that won't fall apart when it meets the tools people rely on every single day. So there they are: perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. And you can see how they all lock together, right? It's not just a checklist. Together, they create this complete blueprint for building websites that don't leave people behind.
Now, for a long time, getting all of this right was a heavy lift, and it was pretty much all on the developer to remember every single rule. But things are changing. We're at a real turning point, and it's all thanks to modern frameworks.
Think about frameworks like React, Vue, or Angular. Their whole component-based model gives us the consistency that's a massive win for accessibility. And because they're declarative, meaning we tell them what we want the UI to look like, not how to do it step by step, they give us a much more stable and predictable foundation to build on.
And you can really see that evolution in this chart. While all the big frameworks care about accessibility, you can see a trend where the newer, more opinionated ones, like Next.js, are just doing more of the work for you. I mean, look at Next.js. It comes with an accessibility linter and a route announcer baked right in. These aren't just optional plugins, they're part of the deal, acting like guardrails to keep you on the right track from the start.
Okay, so theory is great, but let's see what this actually looks like in practice. We're going to check out a few examples from the official Next.js tutorial to see how these advantages play out in real code. This is huge. Right out of the box, Next.js gives you this amazing ESLint plugin that's like having a little accessibility coach sitting on your shoulder. If you write an image tag and forget the alt text, you don't find out months later during an audit. Nope. You get a little warning right in your code editor, instantly. It helps you catch these simple mistakes before they even become problems. But let's be super clear. No framework is a magic bullet. The absolute foundation of an accessible web is and always will be good old-fashioned semantic HTML. Just doing something as simple as using a label tag and linking it to an input with HTML4, that's not a small thing. That's what gives screen readers the context they need to understand what a form field is for.
Okay, now check this out because this is where it gets really cool. In a complex, modern app, handling form members that come from a server can be tricky to do accessibly. But watch how Next.js pulls it all together. First, a hook called useActionState keeps track of what's going on with the form.
If there's an error, ARIA described by creates a direct link between the input field and its specific error message. And then the magic piece. ARIA Live equals polite tells a screen reader, hey, announce this new error, but wait until you're done with what you're currently saying. It's this beautiful, seamless dance between the framework and accessibility standards. So, these tools are getting incredibly smart, and they are making our lives so much easier. But, and this is a really big but, we have to remember that they are just assistants. They cannot replace human empathy and judgment.
Automated tools are amazing at finding black and white issues. Does this image have an alt attribute? Yes or no? But a tool can't tell you if that alt text is actually useful or just gibberish. It can't tell you if the order you tab through a form makes any logical sense. And it definitely can't tell you what it feels like to navigate your site with a screen reader. For that, you absolutely need a human being.
And this quote from the people who make one of the most popular accessibility tools out there says it all. Getting a perfect score from an automated checker doesn't mean you're done. It means you have a solid foundation. True accessibility isn't about having zero errors. It's about creating a great experience for a real person. So what does this all boil down to? What's the big idea here? It's about a change in our entire mindset. It's about shifting left, moving accessibility from something we check at the very end to something we think about from the very beginning.
So to wrap it all up, use WCAG as your North Star. Let modern frameworks do the heavy lifting they're designed for. Always, always build on a solid foundation of semantic HTML. Use ARIA to handle those really rich dynamic interactions. And please, never forget that automation is your partner, not your replacement. You always need to bring in that human element.
So I'll just leave you with this final thought. The tools are getting better and smarter every single day. Building accessible experience is easier now than it has ever been. So the technology isn't really the barrier anymore. The real question is a human one. How are we, the people who build the web, going to use these amazing tools to create a digital world that truly works for everyone?